We're going to start out with a brand new series where we rank and discuss a player's best playoff performances. To start out, we're going to talk about Kobe Bryant and look at his top 10 best playoff series. We're going to be excluding his performances in the finals, as that will be slated for a future project. Let's begin. At number 10, we have the 2003 first round series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He averaged 31.8 points per game on 43% shooting, 6.7 assists per game, and 5.2 rebounds per game. For his playoff career, he produced the 11th highest points per game and the 6th highest assists per game average for a playoff series. The only reason why this isn't deeper in the list is because he was inefficient at times from the field. From games 2 to 4, he averaged a combined 32% from the field. That played a big part in the Lakers falling behind 2-1 in the series. It's something that described before as the Kobe experience. There are times when he looks like the greatest player that's ever lived, and there are times when he shoots the team out of the game. This series is a perfect example of that. In Game 1, he was unstoppable. He had 39 points on 53% shooting, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. The Lakers won by 19 points behind his brilliant performance. In an effort to contain him, the Wolves made the adjustment of relieving Wally Szczerbiak's defensive duties on Bryant, and they put Anthony Peeler on him. It's something that seemed to work for the following 3 games. Then we have a rather bittersweet moment that occurred in Game 3. He had the opportunity to complete one of the greatest comebacks we've seen from a player to win a playoff game. The Lakers were down by 5 points with less than 30 seconds remaining. He proceeded to score 6 straight points, which included a 4-point play that brought the deficit down to only a point. However, with a chance to win the game at the free throw line, he missed the first one. They ended up losing, even though Kevin Garnett fouled out during the overtime period. But as all great players do, he made the necessary adjustments, and he found a way to dominate. With him and Shaq clicking, the Lakers were unstoppable. They won Game 5 by 30 points, and Game 6 by 16 points. He was more aggressive in attacking the rim. At times, he made some spectacular moves at the basket. One of the most famous dunks of his career came in Game 5 when he made this baseline windmill dunk that sucked the gravity out of the building. And in Game 6, he proved why he's one of the greatest closers. He scored 14 points on 7 of 10 shooting in the fourth quarter. He made 7 consecutive shots. They were all insanely difficult and incredibly entertaining moves, but he was just toying with his defenders. It was only a 6-point game when the fourth quarter began, but the Lakers were up by as much as 22 thanks to Kobe's hot shooting. It was a perfect way to end what was an up and down series. At number 9, we have the 2002 semifinal series against the San Antonio Spurs. He averaged 26.2 points per game on 46% shooting, 5.4 rebounds per game, and 4.8 assists per game. Watching this series showed me that even with Bruce Bowen guarding him, and the twin towers of David Robinson and Tim Duncan down there protecting the rim, Kobe's penetration was unstoppable. He was just so quick that no amount of hand checking was going to stop him. And since he was so good at converting tough shots, it was like, what can you do as a defense? He did it time and time again during this series. Game 1 was a perfect example of that. He had 3 spectacular dunks. The most exciting one came when he posterized Tim Duncan. Aside from his driving abilities, he was also very clutch throughout the series, like when he made this tough jumper to ice the game. Then in Game 3, he went a perfect 5 of 5 from the field and scored 11 points in the fourth quarter. These were not easy shots that he was taking, but the Lakers had a luxury that San Antonio did not have. They didn't have a legitimate closer, and it really came to bite them for each game that they lost. The following game was his most memorable performance of the series. In the fourth quarter, he outscored San Antonio 12 points to 10. He made the Lakers' last 8 points, which included the game winner. It was when he rebounded off a Derek Fisher miss, and he had to reach all the way back with one hand to grab the ball and put it in with 5 seconds remaining. In Game 5, he scored over 10 points in the fourth quarter for the 3rd consecutive game to close out the Spurs. Keep in mind that they acquired Bruce Bowen specifically to stop Bryant, especially considering how dominant he was against the Spurs the prior year. but he didn't do much to stop him from closing out in each of the Lakers' 4 victories. That made this series victory so much more satisfying for us Laker fans. Before we move on, here is a highlight that will bring joy to us all. We have Kobe knocking down Bowen while scoring a basket. You bastard.
You bastard.
At number 8, we have the 2008 semifinal series against the Utah Jazz. He averaged 33.2 points per game on 49% shooting, 7.2 assists per game, and 7 rebounds per game. This is his 4th highest assists per game, the 6th highest points per game, and the 7th highest rebounds per game average for a playoff series. As the numbers indicate, he recorded one of his greatest all-around stat lines for his playoff career. Another interesting stat line is that he averaged 16 free throw attempts for the series. He was very aggressive at driving to the rim, and he set the tone right away in Game 1. He went to the line a total of 23 times. There's another aspect of his game that often gets overlooked. In Game 2, he bullied and backed down Ronnie Brewer almost every single time. He just overpowered him and kept moving him backwards until he got the position he wanted. We might think of Kobe more as a finesse player, but don't let his physique fool you. He had a power game as well. It's no wonder why Kobe shot such a high percentage in this game. He scored 34 points on 61% shooting, along with 8 rebounds and 6 assists. In the following game, Kobe did his best to carry his team to victory, but his 34-point performance wasn't enough. Nobody else scored more than 13 points for the Lakers. But there was a move that he made in the second half that has been remembered as one of his most memorable plays. It was when he made this play after receiving double coverage. He was so good at doing that, and this isn't the first time he did this in the playoffs. We remember he did something similar against the Houston Rockets the following season, with Shane Battier guarding him and Yao Ming protecting the rim. He seemed to love to make that play in the postseason. In the next game, it was reported that Kobe was battling through back spasms, but he told reporters it wasn't an excuse for his poor shooting performance. So I won't use it either, but we want to put it out there for context. He ended with 33 points on 33 shot attempts. The Lakers lost in overtime, with Bryant going combined 2 of 13 in the fourth and overtime periods. Even though this wasn't a pretty game, we'll give him credit for adjusting his style of play in Game 5. Some of it had to do with him playing with that back injury, but he was looking to get others involved, and he was used as a decoy on offense. He ended up with 26 points on just 10 field goal attempts. The Lakers were able to close out the series in Utah, but they nearly blew this game. They were up by 16 in the fourth quarter, but it seemed like they ran out of gas, which allowed the Jazz to come all the way back. In the final play, Deron Williams nearly forced overtime with his 3-point shot. And as always, Kobe did most of his damage in the fourth quarter, as he scored 12 of his 34 points in the final period. He also had 8 rebounds and 6 assists. Now, this wasn't the best Utah has seen Kobe play in the playoffs. Poor Deron Williams and Carlos Boozer lost to Kobe and the Lakers 3 straight years in a row. This brings us to number 7, which is the 2010 semifinal series against the Jazz. He averaged 32 points per game on 52% shooting, 5.8 assists per game, and 3.8 rebounds per game. This series features his 10th highest points per game average and his 3rd best field goal percentage. His efficiency is what caught my eye here. In Game 1, he had 31 points on 63% shooting. The Lakers were up for the majority of the game, but the Jazz did make it interesting in the fourth quarter, and they had a 4-point lead with 4 minutes remaining. So he proceeded to score 13 points in the fourth quarter. He was not going to allow the Lakers blow this game, and he made one big shot after another. Game 3 is a hidden gem for Kobe's extensive playoff career. He was once again huge in the clutch. He scored 5 points in the final 2 minutes, and he had an answer for everything that the Jazz were throwing at them. And when the defense collapsed on him, he passed the rock to all reliable Derek Fisher, who makes a 3 to take the lead. That shot helped the Lakers escape with the victory. And I really mean escape, because they nearly choked away that game. Artest threw the ball away on an inbound pass, and on the final shot, the tip-in from Wesley Matthews was so close to going in. Kobe finished the game with 35 points on 54% shooting, along with 7 assists and 4 rebounds. In Game 4, Kobe and the Lakers weren't messing around and they won by 15 points. Kobe scored 32 points and Pau Gasol added 33. Now there were 3 different shots that Kobe did that reminded me so much of Michael Jordan. I recognize that no one had better hang time than MJ did, and he utilized that a lot to avoid getting his shot blocked. Kobe did the same thing with 3 of his jumpers, where he would hang in the air while fading away and then shooting it at the last second. It was very Jordan-esque. It might have even brought those Jazz fans with some very bad memories. At number 6, we have the 2008 first round series against the Denver Nuggets. He averaged 33.5 points per game on 50% shooting, 6.3 assists per game, and 5.3 rebounds per game. This series featured his 4th highest points per game average. The numbers indicate that he torched the Nuggets, but it didn't start out that way. In Game 1, he struggled from the field with Kenyon Martin getting the assignment to guard him. He had 32 points on 9 of 26 shooting. The Lakers still won by double digits thanks to Pau Gasol's superb performance. He had 36 points on 70% shooting, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 blocks. It was his first playoff game as a Laker, and it might have been his best one. Now in the following game, Kobe made up for his shooting woes big time. He had arguably the greatest playoff performance of his career. He finished with 49 points on 67% shooting, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds. He also posted a 43.6 game score, which is the highest for his playoff career. What you'll notice is a lot of his points came from catch and shoot plays. He was fantastic with moving without the ball. He was never only effective in isolation plays. Now when the 4th quarter came along, it was Kobe time. He scored 19 points in a span of 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Then for some reason, J.R. Smith thought it was a good idea to talk trash to him while he was scorching hot. So for good measure, he bullied him to the rim and got an and-one layup to go in. But scoring wasn't the only thing he did in that game. In the 3rd quarter, he did a great job at getting others involved, as he had 5 assists in that quarter. It was just a complete masterpiece. Now in Game 4, the Nuggets finally made things interesting. In the 4th quarter, Kobe closed out the series by scoring 14 points on 5 of 7 shooting. He made some tough baskets that crushed the Nuggets' souls, like when he made this insanely difficult shot over Kenyon Martin to beat the shot clock. He had a great all-around performance as he finished with 31 points on 50% shooting, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. At number 5, we have the 2008 Conference Finals Series against the San Antonio Spurs. He averaged 29.2 points per game on 53% shooting, 5.6 rebounds per game, and 3.8 assists per game. This series features the highest field goal percentage that he's ever had in a playoff series. And this came against the defending champions, whose biggest strength was their defense. In fact, they finished 3rd in both defensive rating and opponents' points per game. They also had the 5th best opponents' field goal percentage in the league, but they simply had no answers on how to stop Kobe. In Game 1, he started out serving the role of the facilitator. He had 5 assists in the first half and only 3 shot attempts. Then in the second half, the Spurs went on a run and were up by as many as 20 points. That's when he needed to go Mamba mode. He started by creating easy buckets for his teammates, especially Gasol. All of his field goals in the second half were assisted by Bryant. Then in the 4th quarter, Kobe went on a tear and scored 14 points. One of his highlighted plays was when he showcased his flawless footwork that allowed him to create space against Manu Ginobili. But nothing was bigger than the game-winning shot he made over Bruce Bowen with 23.9 seconds left. He scored 25 of his 27 points in the second half. In Game 2, Kobe was much more aggressive in the first half, and he was killing the Spurs on the perimeter. That played a big part in the Lakers winning by 30 points. In the following game, Kobe was the only one that came out to play. The Lakers as a team shot 43%, but Kobe had 30 points on 57% shooting. It was no surprise that the Spurs were up by 20 points in the 4th quarter. Then Kobe nearly single-handedly pulled his team out of the hole. He hit 4 3-pointers that brought the Lakers within 12 points. That included an and-one 3 with Bowen putting his back right under Kobe's feet. Unsurprisingly, he was unsure where the foul took place. Usually, he would blatantly put his feet under the player's landing space. So I guess he wanted credit for finding new ways to hurt people, who knows. But getting back on track, this was all too little too late, but this was something that Bryant would regularly do. He could get scorching hot at a moment's notice, and before you know it, your lead has shrunk tremendously. Then in Game 4, Bryant displayed a balanced inside-outside game. 14 of his 28 points came in the paint. Now I know he's shown signs of just a little bit of hatred for the Spurs, but I do sorta kinda feel bad for the way the refs blew this game for them. You can see in the final moments, Derek Fisher clearly fouled Brent Berry on his 3-point attempt, but the refs swallowed their whistles. It was a big no call that pushed the Lakers' lead to 3-1. The Spurs were now desperate, and they played like it in Game 5. They were up as much as 17 points in the first half. So Kobe went to work in the second quarter and made some very tough shots. By the end of the third quarter, the Lakers had the lead, and Kobe was going to will his team to the finals. He wasn't planning on taking the easy route. He was looking to go straight at Tim Duncan. There were 5 total times where on the pick and roll, Duncan would come on a switch on Kobe, and he would either shoot over him or take it straight to the rim. We're talking about the defensive legend that Duncan was, but his length did nothing to Kobe. He had 17 points in the fourth quarter on 6 of 11 shooting. This would be the third and final playoff series from his 08 playoff run. He was on pace to having one of the greatest playoff runs ever, but that suffocating Celtics defense proved to be too much for Kobe and the Lakers. But for those who point out Kobe's inefficiencies, we can point to this series and his incredible shooting performance against a top-tier defensive team. At number 4, we have the 2001 semifinal series against the Sacramento Kings. He averaged 35 points per game on 47% shooting, 9 rebounds per game, and 4.3 assists per game. This is the highest points per game and rebounds per game average for his playoff career. This was Kobe's first great series, and it's crazy that he was never able to top this scoring average. But playing only 4 games probably has something to do with that. Kobe really picked his spots throughout the first 2 games, and he did just enough to help the Lakers hold off the Kings. The Lakers were riding off the dominance of Shaq, who posted 2 straight 40-20 games. By Kobe standards, these 2 games can be described as conservative. But after Shaq left the trail of dead bodies behind, the Kings vowed to let anyone else beat them. They thought, let's contain Shaq and let Kobe try to beat us by himself. It almost worked last year in the first round. What happened next was a culmination of years of the Lakers wondering if Shaq and Kobe could ever coexist and dominate like the great duos of the past. Shaq did his thing at home, and Kobe went to a hostile environment and put on an amazing 2-game stretch to close out the Kings that finished with 55 wins. It all started in the fourth quarter. He went 4 from 4 from the field and had 10 total free throw attempts. The Lakers destroyed the Kings by 22 points, and Kobe finished with 36 points on 10 of 22 shooting. Bryant continued his hot shooting in Game 4 as he made 6 shots in a row in the first quarter. That included this poster dunk that he had over Vlade Divac. Now the move he made to end the first half is a Kobe that I love. You got Doug Christie guarding him. Page comes in to double. He gets around Doug and goes straight to the painted area where there are 3 players waiting for him. He draws a foul and scores. Then he starts to shake his head as if he was saying, "You can't stop me." I'm not gonna lie, that got me hyped after seeing that play again. Now in the fourth quarter, Kobe goes on to score 15 points. Even with Doug Christie all over him, it didn't matter. And we have to remember that he was selected for the All-NBA second team defense that season. So this was a good individual defender. But Kobe was just making tough shots. He ended up with the impressive stat line of 48 points on 52% shooting, 16 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. He recorded his career high in rebounds. This was also his 3rd highest scoring mark for his playoff career. But as we'll see later in this list, he was just getting started. At number 3, we have the 2009 Conference Finals Series against the Denver Nuggets. He averaged 34 points per game on 48% shooting, 5.8 rebounds per game, and 5.8 assists per game. This series featured the the second highest points per game average of his playoff career. Alright, so before we move on, I would like to offer my sincerest apologies to the Spurs fans out there who were offended by all the Bruce Bowen jokes I made. That was completely out of line. I don't want to make it sound like I'm targeting him. So to be fair, we move on to Dante Jones. Take a look at Kobe's second field goal of the series. He was backing him up to the point where he felt the need to flop to the ground to bail himself out. You just gotta love it. Dante was playing aggressive defense for Kobe's first 3 field goals, but he easily countered him with some high percentage shots. But believe it or not, this series was not about the matchup of Dante Jones and Kobe. It was about the exciting matchup between Bryant and Carmelo Anthony. And Melo was having one of those games as he started the first quarter with 16 points on 7 of 8 shooting. This was one of the better individual battles that Kobe faced in the playoffs, and he was certainly up for the challenge. He did most of his damage in the fourth quarter. He had 18 points in the final period, which included going 4 of 5 from the field and 9 for 9 from the free throw line. In the final 6.5 minutes, he scored 15 of those 18 points. His final stat line was 40 points on 46% shooting, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. I noticed that in this series, the Nuggets were utilizing a lot of undersized players to guard him. For example, in Game 2, the 6'1" Anthony Carter was on Bryant for a large portion of the game. That move didn't make any sense to me. Every single time he was on him, Kobe would end up right under the basket and easily finishing. Just an automatic 2 points. If you're trying to stop him, that's not the way to go. Now in the fourth quarter, Kobe had some big buckets in the final 2 minutes that kept the Lakers in the game. That included this fadeaway over Nene that tied the game. But the Lakers blew this game after Trevor Ariza made a costly turnover with 15 seconds left that squandered an opportunity to tie the game. We move on to Game 3, which is universally known as the Mamba game. He was extremely clutch in that hostile environment. He scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, which erased an 8-point lead. A couple of his notable plays included Kobe making this and-one jumper with Melo on him and J.R. Smith coming to help. And then we have his most famous play of that game. He made this tough 3-pointer over J.R. Smith that took the lead and eventually the game. He finished with 41 points on 50% shooting, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. This would be his second 40-point game of the series. It was an important performance because the Lakers got blown out in the next game. Now for the younger fans who are confused about why we picked on Dante Jones, I present to you 3 pieces of evidence. Let's start with Game 3. As Kobe is driving to the basket, he pushes it from behind as he's in the air. Strike 1, right? Then at the end of the game, he got all in his feelings for losing and he essentially pushed Kobe to the ground. And Kobe took no offense to it. Everyone has their moments when you're about to have a tough loss. Now in the third quarter of Game 4, he did something that was completely out of line. Kobe goes backdoor as Odom is shooting, and Jones sticks his foot out and trips Kobe. Just textbook defense, am I right? But don't worry, this doesn't mean he's a dirty player. In fact, if you were to publicly discuss the possibility of him being dirty, he would go straight to the yellow pages, find your number, and call you while you're on the air. So don't worry, I won't even go there. Neither did Kobe. In fact, when they asked him about the play afterward, he simply said, "I just fell on my face for no reason. I'm a klutz." So it's all good. Now in Game 5, the Lakers utilized Kobe as a decoy, and they had huge success. With the game tied in the fourth quarter, Kobe showed trust in his teammates. With Bryant luring double coverage and then passing to his teammates, the Lakers owned the fourth quarter. This is what Kobe said about his approach to this game. Quote, "The past couple games, they were really loading to my side, and I figured I could be a decoy and try to give chances to my teammates." End of quote. The Lakers had 5 players scoring in double figures, and Kobe finished with 22 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. I think this really illustrates the maturity of his game. The younger version might have looked to force the issue in such a high-stakes game, but this version was more cerebral. Then the final game of the series, the Lakers had their best performance. They had 5 different players scoring in double figures again. In Kobe's case, he he was killing the Nuggets with his outside shooting. That was especially the case in the fourth quarter, when he blew the game wide open after scoring 7 straight points. At number 2, we have the 2010 Conference Finals Series against the Phoenix Suns. He averaged 33.7 points per game on 52% shooting, 8.3 assists per game, and 7.2 rebounds per game. He recorded his career high in assists per game, the 3rd highest points per game, the 4th highest field goal percentage, and the 5th highest rebounds per game average. Yeah, there's a reason why this is number 2. I would say that Kobe was extremely motivated after losing to them 2 years in a row in the playoffs, and he was seeking payback right from the beginning. He ended up with 40 points on 57% shooting, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He did all this in just 35 minutes of play. He also had a 21-point third quarter to blow the game wide open. That would be his best game for his 2010 title run. After that performance, the Suns tried to double team him more in Game 2. So Kobe proceeded to dish his playoff career high 13 assists. He also had 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 block, which occurred on a dunk attempt from Amari Stoudemire. I was able to appreciate how perfectly Kobe and Gasol were playing the triangle offense. They reacted to each other so well, and they were a big reason why the Lakers had 128 points in Game 1 and 124 in Game 2. In the following game, he had his best all-around performance of the series. He had 36 points on 54% shooting, 11 assists, and 9 rebounds. One thing I noticed from this game was how patient he was. Once Kobe caught the ball, there were many times when he never dribbled. He would jab step a few times and let the defense react. They would either step back slightly, go for the strip, or fall asleep on defense waiting for Kobe to do something, and then he would rise up to have a clean look at the basket. Since Kobe was a great shooter, he would knock those down constantly. Despite his great performance, the Lakers could not keep up with the Suns' hot shooting in the fourth quarter, and they lost the game. Now, Game 4, Kobe would have his most efficient scoring performance for his playoff career. He ended up with 38 points on 68% shooting, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. That would be his highest field goal percentage when shooting at least 15 times. And man, Kobe was on fire. What really killed LA was the Suns' bench play. They scored a total of 54 points. Just a wasted performance for Kobe. But they made it up for the classic Game 5. That is mostly famous for the game-winning play by Ron Artest, who rebounded Kobe's airball and made it at the buzzer. I think I can speak for all of Laker Nation when I say we are really happy for Ron for having that moment. Now, Game 6 is the performance that stands out the most from this series. His stat line was pretty standard. He had 37 points on 48% shooting, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. But it's the way he got those points that made this so impressive. That is also part of the Kobe experience that I mentioned at the beginning. This is when the defense does everything humanly possible to stop him, even throwing 2 guys at him, and it means absolutely nothing. He would make these crazy shots with the defense draped all over him. It's so crushing for the opposition, and it feels like he would usually do this on the road. The one play that stands out is when he made this shot over Grant Hill, and then he savagely dapped their head coach. Thanks to his clutch play, the Lakers were able to fly by the Suns and reach the finals for the 3rd straight year. At the number 1 spot, we have the 2001 Conference Finals Series against the Spurs. He averaged 33.3 points per game on 51% shooting, 7 rebounds per game, and 7 assists per game. This was the 5th highest points per game, assists per game, and field goal percentage of his playoff career. He also recorded the 6th highest rebounds per game average for a playoff series. So why is this number 1? Because even with the Lakers playing against the best team in the league, and with Tim Duncan and Shaq being 2 of the top players, Kobe was unquestionably the best player in the series. Shaq averaged 27 points per game and 13 rebounds per game, and Duncan averaged just 23 points per game and 12.3 rebounds per game for the series. And they didn't just beat them, they destroyed them. They beat them by an average margin of 15.5 points. Kobe was a huge reason why they were so dominant against a team that had the best defensive rating and opponents' points per game that season. It started from the beginning. In Game 1, Kobe started going right at the Twin Towers for 3 straight field goals, and he even dunked on Tim Duncan twice in this game. If you thought that was impressive, There was also a play where he dunked over 2 players. That was on this tip-in dunk over David Robinson and Avery Johnson. It was obvious that they couldn't stop his penetration, and that opened up so many great looks in the perimeter. He finished that monster game with 45 points on 54% shooting, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists. Poor Antonio Daniels couldn't do anything to stop Kobe. Whether it's from the outside or in the post, Kobe was just torching him. He wasn't nearly as dominant in Game 2, but he managed the game very well with Shaq struggling. He had 19 points on 38% shooting. So this was the best chance for the Spurs to win a game, but the Lakers used more of a balanced attack to take a 2-0 lead. And as always, Kobe put the finishing touches in the fourth quarter to continue their historic hot streak. In Games 3 and 4, Kobe was once again killing the Spurs with his penetration, but this time, he was getting his teammates involved much more often. With him drawing all this attention with his drives, either Shaq was left open for a dunk, or he would pass it to wide open shooters. He had a combined 19 assists for the 2 games. Derek Fisher was the main recipient of his passes. He averaged 17.5 points per game for the series, and shot 75% from the 3. Game 3 was Kobe's best all-around performance, as he finished with 36 points on 52% shooting, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. And Game 4 was confirmation that we were seeing history. They reached a level of dominance that few have been able to duplicate. Kobe only played 33 minutes in the final game and had 24 points on 10 of 19 shooting and 11 assists. With all those factors, this is why I believe this was the best series by Kobe. Because at the Lakers' best, Kobe was clearly their best player.